Good morning, everybody. And it's a day before the divisional round playoffs start. And of course, we have two big favorites on Saturday, two smaller favorites, and of course, underdogs. The line is shorter on Sunday than it is on Saturday. We have the top two teams at home on Saturday, both favored by 9.5 or 10 points. Now, we've got the Packers. We've got the Texans, both coming off huge wins, blowout wins, as underdogs. Houston was at home against Cleveland, who had a lot of offensive line issues, and it was a revenge spot for Houston. They played exceptional with C.J. Stroud. It's been absolutely awesome. D'Amico Ryans, in my opinion, coach of the year. Rookie of the year would be Stroud. They have it going on. They have a lot of injuries at the wide receiver spot. I'm not too sure that won't catch up to them in this spot. We do have issues with weather in Baltimore. And, of course, everybody knows Lamar Jackson has not done all that well in the playoffs in his career so far. Is a better fit with their offensive coordinator at this time, and they've got a great head coach. So you got two good head coaches. You got, looks like, two great quarterbacks. A lot of talent on that Baltimore side, and they're rightfully one of the two best teams in football, along with the Niners. Can you lay 10 with Baltimore? The weather might be a little breezy, might be more than breezy. You could get some rain. Initially, I thought if the weather got bad enough, taking near double digits with an underdog with a value becomes greater when the score is going to have less points in the total game. But it doesn't look that way right now. It looks like the weather is letting up a little bit. You know, sometimes we get these weather reports early in the week and we go by that, and a lot of times we get crossed up because the weather changes. So, in this spot, I don't see either of these big favorites losing these games. And I cannot recommend laying double digits. Not this year. I mean, this has been a strange year in the NFL. We've seen a lot of underdogs, a lot of upsets. We're seeing the growth of these two young quarterbacks for Green Bay and Texas, the Texans. And there's some danger in these spots. However, these two favorites are well rested now. Rest or rust comes into picture because they have been off quite a bit, and they both rested players in their last regular season game. So that is an issue. And with Green Bay, the way they came out against Dallas, they got out there, they were very aggressive. They took the ball, they didn't defer, and they pushed the ball down the field. They took a big lead, 27-0. That game was never close. At least with the Houston Cleveland game, it was close. At one point, Cleveland came back and took a 10-7 lead, but then it got ugly. A lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes. But I don't see either one of these underdogs winning these games straight up. But I'm not going to lay the points. These points are too large for me. It really takes a real mismatch to do something like that. I do like a teaser, though. You could tease the dogs. You could tease the favorites. Either way, I think you're going to see a two-team teaser, 6 points, but you might have to go 7 points because if you want to get down to 3 or less on these favorites if you go favorite right. If you go to the dog side, you're just looking for a closer game. So it could be interesting for fun. I do see there being quite a bit of points. In the West Coast game, the Niners game, there's going to be some rain. I don't think the wind is going to be bad, and the rain can help the offenses or it can hurt the offenses. I choose to see them helping the offenses because the offenses have an advantage when they know where they're making their breaks, and they can make the breaks quickly, and it's hard for the defense to recover. So I look for that. So I'm not going straight up lay points on the favorites, but I would say if you like the favorites, I would tease them. If you like the dogs, you can go and just take a parlay on both dogs, taking the 9.5 or 10. That could be fun. I'm not saying these are money-making opportunities, but in-game betting could be extremely good, especially if you see one of these dogs taken off and you feel like these favorites can fight back and make it a game. That could be very interesting. I don't know if all of you have online or inline in-game betting available, but that's one thing I would look at. Now, one of the hottest topics right now is what's happening with these coaches, Belichick, Sirianni, Mike McCarthy, Harbaugh coming out of college, maybe going to the pros. I will say this. Initially, the way that McCarthy and Quinn managed that game against Green Bay, I thought both of them should have been fired on the spot. But cooler heads prevail. In the regular season, McCarthy's had some real good winning seasons in the regular season. I don't think he's a coach that's going to take you to the promised land and get that ring. But if you want to win games during the regular season and get to the playoffs, when you look at the situation Dallas has right now, Philadelphia fell apart at the end of the season. I do think Sirianni should go. I don't think right now, and I thought initially, and my initial thought might have been wrong here with McCarthy, I don't know that you can replace him because anybody that's any good is going to want to come in and have total control. And Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones is just not going to let that happen. You're not going to get a Harbaugh. You're not going to get a Belichick. It's not going to happen because they want total controls. They want the key to the office, and they don't want Jerry and Stephen to come in there. And that isn't going to happen. McCarthy seems to be able to live with that. So maybe you have to live with the situation you have. The other side, Sirianni, he lost the team. They were 10-1, and they just blew up at the end. And in the last game, they just absolutely gave up. They quit. It looks to me like he has lost the team. He did lose his defensive and offensive coordinator in the offseason after the Super Bowl loss. Then they moved on to head coaching jobs. But Sirianni didn't do a good job. And I don't think the players, I know they speak out in favor. They always speak out in favor of the coach, but I don't believe that's the case. I think he needs to move on. Tough to replace these guys. It's hard to find offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach, and quality ones that can do a good job. It's really like playing Russian roulette. But when you look at Washington with new ownership, they're actually in really good shape right now because they don't have a quarterback. So you don't have to worry about that situation. They're going to get somebody in there. So get your head coach, get your offensive defensive coordinator, and get your quarterback. So Washington could end up developing. The NFC East right now is all Dallas, really. If you got McCarthy and what he had this year, and if they can overcome the cap hit that Dak is going to have on the team, which is $59 million, if they can keep part of that together, they should be able to win that division. How they do in the playoffs is probably a replay of what has happened the last few years. They don't do well. But anyway, that's my take on it. And Saturday games, we'll be back for some Sunday takes in a little while.